Hi, Raj. Thank you so much for making time.
Anup, absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to this awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and actually, it was a good conversation. I mean, like when I figured out about you through Sumandai podcast, Sumandai post, and then I started digging on your LinkedIn and doing around some Google searches. I was like, oh my god, this guy is the guy I should meet. Like 10 plus years in content marketing,
Yes.
and now that you are doing a lot of AI stuff. But then I think AI is something that you have been doing since quite a while.
For 21 years, yeah, 21 years of AI, and but AI was something I did a lot of work as a researcher, and very curious. I mean, one thing I think we discussed yesterday as well was that I'm a very curious person. Thirst for learning was what drives me, and actually it's something in my life which didn't drive me as a younger adult, and I kick myself on that. Why didn't I kind of think about being a learner earlier? But learning is something that I love doing, and AI has been a passion. And I got into AI not because I'm going to be a researcher. I love video games, and basically I went to a professor back at university and said, hey, these video games bots are so stupid. Like they just go around in circles. And he's like, fix it. What do you mean fix it? He's like, go and fix it. Why don't you go and like learn AI and get into it? And that was amazing. That's when I jumped into AI. I built some video games, did some research to pay the bills, and there I was. It was incredible. I feel good things were meant to happen, and it happened. And now I sit here, now very deep into AI in terms of training and teaching people. Back in the day, it was all about myself learning about AI and implementing AI for software I built.
So how does these two things play around with your time? I mean, like you lead a whole agency around content marketing, and then you have this AI first mindset.
Yes.
Another company of yours.
That's right.
So how do you balance both?
Yeah. So, what they say, like, as you embark on the journey, you become better and smarter at it. And I would say that earlier in my life, it was all about doing it yourself. Every time it's all about doing it yourself. Like, can I do it yourself? Can I build a company and I get myself a good job as a CEO? I realized that actually the worst entrepreneurs are the ones who do everything by themselves. The best ones delegate everything out. And for that to happen, it's all about bringing the right people. And so the last few years, and this is not from the beginning of Goodman Anand, which is my content marketing agency, but I would say midway through, I had this learnings from, we'll talk about that later on, perhaps EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. That's all about delegation and to bring in the opportunity to delegate at scale. And so at Goodman Anand, I would spend 1 hour per week, whereas in AI First Mindset, because I just started it properly, I spend most of my time there.
So let's talk more about this, the whole content thing.
Yeah.
And how, like, I think you have been able to see how it started with text and now how every other platform is going to a video side, right? That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a bit biased because I come from a production side.
Sure.
But The world of media has completely changed in the last 10 years.
That's right.
How do you see it?
Yeah. Well, let's first figure out why that's happened. Back in the day, to do video production would mean that you have to stream that video, and internet bandwidth was so bad everywhere. Today, I'm impressed to see even like in Nepal, you can use your mobile phone, you can stream a nice, HD video, 4K video, absolutely easy, no problem at all. That wasn't possible. So with that happening, obviously we as human beings prefer video because we love interaction. We love human beings. We love to see other people talk. And so I can see video has kind of taken over. But not only video, but also audio as well. Listen to podcasts while you're in the gym is now a norm. I think we all do that. So the written word has been sort of bolted on with video and audio. Saying that, still people love reading books. I mean, I see books right just behind you. I can see that books are an important part of who we are. So we still like the books as well. And what we have noticed is that now it's become a bit of a blend. There's visuals in the form of images, there's text, there's videos, there's podcasts, and we sit in a very B2B environment. And B2B still has some traditional elements to it. In B2C brands, for example, consumer brands, say Colgate, banks, for example, banks can be both, but in the consumer side, B2C side, you'll notice that there still is a bias towards documents, content which you can print out, for example, could read, for example. And that's where we kind of come in. We do effectively content marketing for B2B brands who are focused on looking at how can they grow their presence, but not in a very public way. Many of them are very private about how they grow. And these companies are doing billion-dollar businesses, for example, some of them are household names, but they will not sell in the way B2C brands sell.
So because the rise is there for sure.
Yeah.
Have you never thought of expanding your content marketing, content production side into more videos, audios, and design side?
So we do a lot of design work, because all these content has to be bolstered with a lot of design. So we'll do a lot of design work. We do video and audio production as well, but not as much as probably you do. But we do a fair bit of that. We've done, for example, again, I can't disclose names here, but for a sovereign fund, we did a massive video production for their exhibitions, for example. So we do that. But I would not say that that's a core business, because where we sit in B2B, there still is a big demand for strategy, content production, and then distribution. And production would be thought leadership pieces. And that still is consumed in a very text format, or for example, audio format, but you just start with the text format. You have multimodal ways of communicating that information.
So walk me through, how does a standard procedure of producing a content works in your agency?
In fact, that's all on the website. So we have what we call a proven process. Typically, we'll get somebody who'll come in and request for information. And if you look at how we do that, is that we are ranked really well on search engines. And now we're on ChatGPT or Perplexity, ranked really well. Typically ranking number one. So for example, content writing for manufacturing, content writing for telecom, we rank number one for these things. So they'll find us through SEO, Google for now. And then when they send us an inquiry, what we will do is we will get someone very senior to have a chat with them to learn about the pains, what's the requirements. We will then go through a process of understanding the requirements, talking to experts in a company, an editor, for example, or somebody who's a senior strategist, do a proposal for them, go through that process. And typically clients will want to have a way to kind of engage us for a long term. So we might do a trial for them, a paid pilot, and then we'll get into a long-term engagement with them, producing content for them regularly. And in that process, we'll do constant communication. We have a platform where you can interact with us. They prefer email, they use email. And we'll engage with them on a constant basis to first understand, build a brief internally, build a knowledge base for them, and create for them content pieces, learn from them what they need. That we also build a better knowledge base for them. And that becomes part of the IP as well,
Mhm.
because now we understand them deeply and we create content for them constantly. So it becomes easier for them to engage with us and retain us for a longer period of time.
You mentioned how the article that you have written has also started performing on Perplexity and ChatGPT. So, how have you? What changes, or let's say, how did you? How did you start changing your writing style so that it not only performs on Google but it also start listing on these AI chat platforms?
Yeah. So just to kind of explain why this is important, why this is interesting, is that many companies relied on SEO.
Mm.
That stands for search engine optimization, which obviously we understand. And HubSpot, which coined this term inbound, kind of meant that many B2B companies also got into getting inbound inquiries instead of outreaching to companies through cold calls or cold emails. Now, that was really good till AI came into play and people started to move away from normal SEO to putting their queries in ChatGPT or Perplexity. What happened with that is that these sites like Google and Bing started to lose traffic. Today, the 8th most visited website is ChatGPT. And I just read this morning that in the last 24 hours, they gained 1 million users thanks to their new launch of their new image creation tool on ChatGPT 4.0. So it's important now to rank on ChatGPT and Perplexity as well, or AI tools, which we are calling AI SEO. So SEO inside AI tools. The principles of AI SEO is similar, but it's dramatically different. There are 3 steps involved in ranking for AI SEO. Number 1 is in-depth research to figure out when people enter terms where you should appear in the answer and citation, why aren't you appearing? So you note down those content multiple times. You do it like 10, 20 times the same queries for different requirements. You note out all the content you're seeing right now, who's appearing. Then you convert your content on your site to match those requirements. That's the first part of that AI SEO. Number 2 is SEO is still really important, right? If you can't do SEO, AI SEO will not be possible. That's number 2. And number 3 is having knowledge that ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, the parent company, has done private deals with companies like Reddit, Wall Street Journal, Times Magazine. And so they have 1,000 plus publications, both in online formats and also offline formats. So now it's not enough to just rank for online platforms. You have to also rank for closed communities and publications as well. If you do all these 3 things, you'll rank really well.
So, how does getting published on a print affect the online side? Because whatever gets printed on paper is also get published on online. Is that the logic?
No. So what OpenAI has done is that they have done private deals with these communities where they have access to printed content as well. So they're indexing that as well. Suddenly, what was not important for SEO, which is like offline content, now is also important for ranking on ChatGPT. And that's the uniqueness of this opportunity. To rank really well, you have to be truly a leader in that space. I think we talked about yesterday as well, owning a space, like owning the space completely. Do one thing really well. And in my case, in our case at Goodman Anand, we own the space of B2B. If you're looking at telecom content writing, manufacturing, defense, Goodman Anand is the company. Owning it, right? 10 years it took to own that space. It wasn't easy, hard journey. Many times you're like, B2C people doing, much more revenue. Let's go to B2C. Stuck to our guns. Continue doing it. And now we own the space.
What was the moment when you figured the ChatGPT for the first time? Did you feel that, oh my God, this might take away what we have been building? Or the next moment you realize, okay, I can leverage this more to make more money?
It's a great question, actually. And I think about this all the time. And it was actually a conversation between 3 people. We had lunch together. And this is the beauty of meeting people. That's why I love kind of dinners, lunches, coffees, teas, is I was always into AI, looking at what AI is doing. Version 2.0, for example, in ChatGPT, interesting, but not that great. 3 and 3.5, ChatGPT 3.5, 3 and 3 were the changing moments for me. And I could see the power of their change. And initially, I was very scared. I was very, very scared about the future of Goodman Anand. You can create all the content using ChatGPT. Why do you need individuals to do it for you? It took me a couple of days to really deep dive into it, to realize that actually now it's the moment of building a Gucci, Versace, Louis Vuitton, or Hermes, because there will be a distinction between cheap clothing versus high, heavy listed, expensive opportunities. When I say cheap and chirpy, I don't want to use brand names here, but like, think of a 100 rupees or a $1, $5 t-shirt versus what you can spend on a very, very high value, high quality clothing, right? And that'll be a difference between this. And why is that? Let's think about what does AI require, or what does Google require? Google is an AI itself. If we use AI content on our website to tell Google or what you do as a company, Google understands that the content is written using AI. Why is that? You show that content to my editors, within a couple of minutes, they can tell you if the content is AI or not. There's some patterns there, right? Google can definitely do that as well, right? Now, Google doesn't want the same garbage material which they can produce from the site, right? They want unique perspectives. They want a genuine value of the company to emerge. They want real thought leadership in there. They want you biased as a consumer. If you don't have that, why does Google care? They don't want to really grab that information. They don't want garbage in, garbage out. They want genuine content. They want your unique content. The human creativity is what they really want. And that only happens if we genuinely create something which is useful. Now, we can research using AI on different topics, but when it comes to content production, it still has to be a human thing. It's a human trait. Because being creative is a human trait. This is a human trait. We can't replace this with like bots unless we just write it down and they say it out for us. So I feel like this was an opportunity for us to really think about it. And on our website, it says it clearly, content marketing for humans by humans. Because we believe that humans create something very unique.
But you guys do use AI tools, right?
We use AI tools for research purposes. We would, in the end, when content is produced by human beings, we will use AI to make sure that we have hit all the keynotes, for example. But we will not use AI to write content ever. In fact, in our contracts, we have that written as well.
Yesterday, you asked me a question and I could not answer you right there while I was saying you, Braz, in Nepal, a lot of my energy, for example, if I have to give you an example of 100%, I invest at least 50 to 60% of my energy to actually convince a client to bet on our strategy, to convince a client to invest on our content. And you asked me, I hope you charge for them for the strategy. And I was like, yeah, I do. But in the back of my mind, I was generally, okay, in Nepal, we generally bundle it up with our production and then that's how we charge.
Yeah.
So I think Nepal is still on a very nascent stage of understanding the content, why it is important. And, like we produce a lot of content for B2B as well. And there's a trend that I see and I've been pitching it to my client. Please correct me how it works outside Nepal and if I can improve in any way. So I've been telling a lot of our B2B clients that I think organization is a reflection of the leaders they have in, right? It's the expertise, knowledge base these leaders have. I think these are the knowledge based resources that needs to be converted into a content and it needs to be published outside.
Yeah.
But I think organization still find it difficult in Nepal to promote its team, to humanize their brand by putting people front.
Yes.
For them, I think still creating a faceless content is way better because they would rather choose to not promote a face than to promote a face. And I'm having a really difficult time to make B2B decision makers understand that at the end of the day, it's people follow people, regardless of B2B or B2C. And maybe it's high time we bring out these thought leaders, we bring out these knowledge holders outside of your uh, the institution face, and then give a face to the institution. And I'm having a really tough time. And at times I feel that, am I going in a wrong direction? This is not the new trend in B2B.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Knowing Nepal, which I know a little bit now, there used to be this notion that if we pump enough money and if we are the dominant force, that we remain the dominant force for many years to come. What's happening in the West is that no company can survive for 100 years, right? Because there's a constant churn. The top 100 companies will constantly keep churning. And to survive as a top leader, you have to constantly keep branding, marketing, which perhaps in Nepal is not as required, perhaps, but that's changing as well. Because now you can build a brand at minimal cost, right? There's a lot of work to be done with AI. There's digital, for example, and that is going to change everything. Because suddenly the legacy banks, legacy insurance companies, legacy car manufacturers, legacy A category you can think of, will need to market themselves heavily. Because if you don't do that, they won't exist. And that's the thing which I also want to educate in Nepal as well. If you feel like because you have the cash and you can leverage your cash to generate volume or growth constantly, you're wrong. Somebody right now is working on the brand quickly, authentically, with their founder's face, leadership team's face, that will come and replace you before you know it. Now think of this, right? Kodak camera. Who killed them? People think, oh, camera company. No, mate, it wasn't camera company. It was iPhone. It was Apple. Because people realized that Apple can do better pictures quickly. And go develop a picture, a film, for example. So I feel that at this point in time, the feeling is, well, I will not be replaced. So I'll be okay. So that's one thing. Number two is why the founder leadership. The easiest way to build a brand is through genuine people who lead the company to come and talk about it.
And it doesn't have to be founder all the time, right?
It
could be executives on top.
Absolutely agree with you. Founders usually do a better job at it because the passion comes naturally, right? So that's why it's easier to get them in. Leadership teams is the next step in that journey. Why is that important? Because, I mean, look at Tesla versus Elon Musk, right? Tesla's following is, I don't know how many X more, than less than Elon Musk. Elon Musk's following is far greater than Tesla, SpaceX. Why is that? Because he is the brand himself. He places his feelings, his emotion more authentically than a brand could ever do. And so it's important that we put our brand as individuals out there. And that will help our other companies as well.
So let me ask you a tricky question.
No tricky question at all. Ask away. I'm here for any question you have for me.
So you've been doing this since last 10 years. And most probably, I think the phase we are in right now in Nepal, most probably you faced the similar situation 10 years back in UK or maybe other continents that you provide service to. So how do I hack it? How did you hack it? How do we expedite the process of making these leaders understand that it's high time you invest on good, genuine, thoughtful content, not just bet on these 30 seconds to a minute long scripted TVC. Obviously that would do a job as well, but then that is not just the only way. You bet on this genuine first-hand content. How do I hack it?
How do you hack it? Get one awesome case study where the company was not a leader by default, and you build that brand. You just need one.
You lift an underdog.
That's it. You take one example, one company who take it from zero to hero, for example. The hero is formed. The day the hero is formed, your company goes from, multi-million to multi-billion.
Okay. That was a quick answer.
Well, I mean, that's the reality of it. I think at the end of the day, as marketeers, we forget the value of case studies. And they are the most important piece of content or recommendation you can ever have. That's why, if you look at Google, for example, case studies are really important. If you want to grow your Google ranking, they say put more case studies out there.
And I'd also like to answer my question that I asked you.
Sure.
While we see a lot of video thing is going all around, I mean, like, So I started as a blogger, by the way.
Mm-hmm,
So I started blogging, then I got into photography, then designs, then videos, now podcasting, and now we also do web series, short movies. And the more content we invest in, the more I have learned in content marketing. Everything starts with the text. Even when you do a scripting for a web series, you got to start on a blank paper, writing about the screenplay, writing about the script. So I'm trying to answer the question that I raised you. Like, definitely video has taken over, but the relevancy is text is so high. I mean, like, and when I see the trend of chatting with Chat GPT, it's all a text based, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think for niche industries, text still does the wonders.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at your watch and looking at my watch. Well, I got a digital watch, if you can see it on the camera, and you got an analog
Yeah.
watch. But all the expensive watches are like yours,
Mm,
right? People still prefer those watches.
Mm.
They're still the sign and symbol
mm,
of wealth and growth and success. Why is that? Because back to the basics. Like,
Mm.
we, as individuals, as human beings, we love traditions. We love what is genuine, and digital somehow doesn't feel as genuine as a watch. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big brand, but success comes from people who understand those
Mm.
small little things. In fact, recently, I had the pleasure to meet this gentleman who's a billionaire coach. He's trained people like Warren Buffett, Oprah, for example, billionaires basically. He came to do a learning event at EO Bangkok. And I was hoping to hear from him a silver bullet to be a billionaire. There wasn't one. All he told me was that billionaires do the same task millionaires do much better. Building better teams, finding better frameworks. That's it. That's success to being $1 billion.
Mm.
And I was like, damn, I should have known that. But the reality is, like, every little step counts. Like, doing that content writing before producing the video, that is really important.
Exactly.
Doing that right, hitting a nerve every time you create content, people genuinely believe and trust what you do. That is where the opportunity lies. Like, when yesterday we spoke about this podcast, for example, a video cast. I was like, when I come to do a talk, or when I come and do a podcast, I don't hold back. If you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you. If it's for my life or my business, I won't hold back, because that's me being genuine. That's me being who I am.
Mm.
If I don't be authentic and genuine, why do you want people to listen to me? There are a billion more podcasts out there. Why do you want to listen to Raj Goodman? It could be another person you can listen to. And it's because I believe in being authentic and genuine. And if I can't be that, then why am I here? And in fact, when I start any workshop, I'll tell them about my family first. So my cards are put in front of me. I'm not BSing anybody. I'm telling exactly how it is.
And maybe that's one reason why podcasting is picking up so well. I mean, like, you can't really fake for an hour-long conversation, right?
And yours is an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? You definitely got fake for 2 hours.
Yeah,
It's really hard.
That's my strategy to actually
tire
peel
the
off
person
people.
out. yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I was really impressed how you have scaled your content marketing business. It's amazing. Maybe because I'm at this point in my time where I feel that the kind of a work that I do is not really in very high demand in Nepal. We have a very niche industry, and I'm thinking of scaling outside. And I think what you have done, like, you stay in Thailand and you run a global team, all remote. That's pretty impressive. So, is this running a remote thing was something you had in your mind from day one?
No, it wasn't. Short answer was, it wasn't. Why is that? Is because, so I used to work. I started a company, didn't go anywhere. So my first business ever was a social media white label service. At that point, my downfall or my shortcoming was that I wasn't in that learner's mindset. I was constantly thinking that I know it all. I didn't. I mean, that was the stupidest thing ever. And then I started working for a company. At that time, I also had this business called Spicy Hen. We can talk about it later on if you like. But what I learned was that from the business was that it's all about seeing what's out there, and the world is a awesome opportunity to learn constantly. In that time working with a Spanish company, I traveled extensively, a lot. I was taking around 100 flights like I'm doing right now, and I was going to meet different people, and that was amazing. That opportunity to learn from people was great. And then that time working with a Spanish company, I was the only non-Spanish person, so they sent me to Asia to open up Asia offices, and I was in India, and then I traveled to Bangkok regularly. And that's why I wanted to, like, I fell in love with Bangkok. I said, one day I'm going to move to Bangkok. But now I have an in-person company. How do I change that? And so I started to really think about a remote future. And so first of all, made the Spanish company started working remote, which was a big thing for them. They started calling it teleworking, which is interesting what they call it. Now it's called remote working. And my company was formed with the idea of working remotely. But my focus was selling in London and the UK. It's so silly. If you're a global company, why sell only in the UK? Why not sell everywhere? And that changed midway to the company. So I really sell globally, remotely. And people say you can't sell agency work remotely. I say that's wrong. If you have a genuine belief in what you create, what you offer, you can sell anything remotely. Services, products, you name it. And so that changed for us, and we started to sell remotely our services, and that allowed me to kind of actually go remote. I see the first book you have there is called Remote, which is very interesting. And as it also happens, the big proponent of going remote was Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hours Work Week, and that book it's got a lot of garbage in it, to be honest with you. There's some nuggets over there. One of them is working remotely.
I got inspired to start a podcast because of Tim Ferriss.
Interesting.
And one of the reasons why I kept the name of her podcast, The Doers, not Anup Ghimire, because in one of the podcasts he mentioned how he wished he had kept the name something else than Tim Ferriss Show, because now he can't exit, now he cannot sell, and either he have to keep on doing it or he have to kill it. And that really got me thinking, okay, I think building a business around your name is, it has both pros and cons, because I think in today's world, something with the human name sells faster. It's much easier to grow. Like you mentioned earlier, the social following of Tesla versus social following of Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
But I think I got sold to his narrative of how it is much easier to sell things or automate things if it is not under your name directly. And yeah, is more or less like a guru in that terms for me.
Of course. What I have done is I put Goodman in my middle name. Goodman Anand is the name of my company as well. There's a story behind that, but I think there is a connection between the founder and the company, and there should be an element of the founder in the company as well. That's, for me, is the way to grow faster. So if I was Elon Musk and I didn't have his following, I would probably call it Tesla Musk or Musky X. I don't know what to call it.
But I think using a second name is also a smart move, I guess. Not the first name, because
it is. But again, as marketeers, right? I think the benefit we have is to have a story for everything we do. And I have a story for whatever I do, like why AI first mindset, why Goodman Anand. There's no story behind it. Then why do it? As a marketeer, story is what makes people go. Let me give you an example of why it's important. I have a 4-year-old daughter now. Every day, what she wants to do hear from me is stories. Last night, she asked me a story about Bumblebee. I'll make it up, I'll make up the story, right? Of Bumblebee.
That's expertise.
That's expertise, right? That's what we learn from marketing, right? And what I'll do is I'll make a story up based on what she did that evening.
Okay.
So, Bumblebee went for a puja, and she went for some prayers, and she went to see this ceremony for her cousin brother, and so she loved that story, and then she falls asleep to that story. And the thing is, she's so comfortable with that story because it's her story in the form of Bumblebee.
And I think the whole idea of, if you want to really scale a story, you got to make it more relatable, right? One reason why movies do so successfully, because somewhere around some one way or the other, you find your own story on the protagonist or the antagonist.
Absolutely. In fact, if you think about our civilization, human race, I close my eyes to think about what we the past of human race. I think of this one leader by a fireside with all the followers sitting down there and him telling a story. Think about all these stories from the Bible, from Ramayana, from Guru Granth Sahib. I mean, you name it, right? It's all stories. When people link to these stories, religions are formed based on stories, right? So this is the power of what you have is human race love stories. If you take good stories, you're gonna win. And I believe in podcasts, videocasts. These are all stories. You know, you're asking me
100%.
stories here. I'm
100%.
telling a story. You're telling me stories as well. So we link with stories. We genuinely build connection with stories. We can't tell a story. That's why when people like do these like workshops and it's just boring technical stuff for 4 hours. They're like, what the hell are you doing? Tell a story. Make it like an experience. If you can't bring in humor, sadness, laughter, learning experience all in the 4 hours, I think you haven't really passed in the way you could have.
I think the for me, even when I was on my early days of podcasting, and I think still true at times. At times, I think where I struggle is uh, integrating stories when you are doing a very technical conversation. I mean, like, because technical conversation is it's mostly involves a lot of science, a lot of facts, a lot of numbers, a lot of how and what. And I think not just me, a lot of other storytellers also struggle with the art of integrating the science and the objectivity with the subjectivity, right? So I think maybe even when you're telling me, I have this something was going on in my head was how do I make integrate more stories in podcast? Because how I got this podcast started was because I wanted to create a step by step process for young entrepreneurs to learn things from other successful entrepreneurs. And I realized I should not do more general stuff, more general conversation. I mean, like you find general conversation everywhere. So I should do more technical, more niche conversation. And then I realized when you go very technical, when you go very niche, the whole idea of reaching out to the people and inspiring more people goes down because you're not reaching out to more people. So now you need this thing called balance, probably the easiest to understand, hardest to implement, of integrating subjectivity and objectivity so that obviously people find steps to go and implement, but at the same time find it very relatable so that actually it sticks on their head and the motivation lasts a longer than a fleeting motivation, right? And I still have this challenge. I think I'm still going through this loop of crafting my narrative of creating a more technical yet a very storytelling form of podcast.
Interesting. Now, as you say this thing to me right now, as a thing to my in my head, almost every holy book or book of importance has chapters.
Yes.
Right. Every good podcast have chapters as well. They have like narration. They have like these kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to it. Right. Why does YouTube have chapters as part of the thing, or what do they call it now? Is because even if you look at like Hinduism, and I'm bringing it because I just thought of it right now. We have these 4 phases of Hinduism,
Yes.
right? Actually, I'm not Hindu, so I'm just from my learnings as well. We phases of life, for example, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So as individuals, we love stories. Now, in all my workshops, it's all a story. I make stories out of like technical information, and this is not my idea. Let me explain how it came about. Many years back, there's a guy called Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill, if you're listening to this podcast, you know, good to mention you again today after a very long time. But Jeremy Hill is an awesome. How should I call him? He's an absolutely awesome consultant, teacher, author. Now he has done a lot of work with publications. He'll go and train them. I went to one of his training. I was impressed to see that these are expert people who is training about digital technology in 2010s, for example. I'm like, wow, you don't even know that? And the reality is they all understand a little bit of it. But most of the time what happens is people don't really understand it deeply enough. It's because they get scared of these technical terms. Because that's the hardest bit, right? Who wants to learn about SEO? to learn about page rank, DR. Right? I don't learn about that. What I want to learn about is tell me an easy way to understand it, right? Make it snackable for me so I can easily grasp that concept. And that's what it comes down to. So now I focus on teaching subject matter in a simple to understand format. What I do is I think of my grandfather. Is actually not my grandfather. Is actually my father's elder brother, who I consider to be my grandfather. I try to see him in the audience. When I talk to people in the audience, that's my sort of bar. I mean, it's so simple for him to understand that he can understand it. And if he can understand it, then I'm good.
You make me remember a quote. Maybe it was Einstein or somebody who said, if you cannot explain things in a most simplest form, you have not understood it.
Yeah. I mean, look at his three theories, right? Simple, action, reaction. Like, you get it straight away. It's memorable, right? So this is what is really important. Like, even my tasks which I do, exercises I do, these are all stories. Actually, you are a company called, Awesome Threads. You are a small, medium SME, small enterprise. Now, this is the task where you use ChatGPT to help you out with this. That's awesome.
So would you also use the same approach when writing a core niche B2B written content for, let's say, for a defense company working in defense? Will you not?
No, absolutely we do. Let me explain why. Most of the content for B2B companies is so dense and hard to understand that people are like, I can't be asked to read this, right? Even if I'm a defense contractor or I'm from the army, I don't read this stuff.
But then you're writing it for very technical people, right? I mean, like, you're not writing it for a general people.
But you break it down so anybody can understand it. Let me explain why. While the people who are going to say yay or nay are the technical people, but one person who's involved is the CFO. The CFO has no idea about, high-tech AI or high-tech defense. All they know is numbers. So how do you explain to him or her what is that content? And that's what's important, that everybody can understand it. And that is where the expertise lies, right? And you can write content using ChatGPT, but can you explain it in a way that can be understood by anybody from, say, high school?
So is that a hack? Whenever you are doing a B2B content, write it with picturing the CFO in mind.
I mean,
is that a formula?
Many people do, and companies do that, for example. And many people in a company would do that in mind.
Okay.
Like, how do you write content so simple to understand for anybody? And people like make it tougher and harder to people to understand. And I'm like, no, I'm not a writer or editor myself, but I love to get into the content and read what's going on. I want to understand what's going on. So I'm curious. And I'm sure people like me are curious all the time.
And like, with more abundance of content, with more abundance of like generative AI, the importance of storytelling has gone way up, right? I mean, like, it's probably one of the most important thing right now, because you can create a great product, but if you cannot tell a good story, and now you can white label the product. So product is no problem, but you cannot white label a story. The story has to be unique.
Absolutely. In fact, yesterday you talked about communities. Community is very important for you. Communities are formed on stories as well.
100%. Stories is the glue or drama that sticks people together.
Absolutely. It is the binding force. Like, your story, my story as a founder, like, that is a story. People love stories, and they always will love stories, right? And also, for example, the promise, right? So one brand which I love a lot for my travel gear is Tumi, Tumi. I love it because they probably are a luxury brand, probably they're not, I don't know, but they are really good. Like, you buy a Tumi, I bought a Tumi suitcase, it lasted me for 11 years. It doesn't look like it's like 11 years old, right? And that's what I love. That's a promise. So the story, the promise, I love it. Now, sorry, one thing to add there. Samsonite bought them out. Samsonite and Tumi should be the same. Similar prices perhaps as well. But it's different.
Tumi is still the expensive one?
Tumi is a little bit more expensive, but still their promise, their story resonates with me. It's clean. It's clear. Samsonite, maybe the same material, same build, I still prefer Tumi.
Like, as a marketer,
yeah,
I mean, like, we build businesses for someone else, we build IPs for someone else, we create traffic on their website, we talk to them about how they should approach their brand. I mean, like, you do a lot of things for the people. Obviously they pay, but then, I mean, like, I think brand building is probably a process where it cannot be justified with money, right? No matter how much you charge, you always end up going extra mile, because because we all, I think the one pattern that I've seen among marketers is they love building brand, be it for someone else or be it for them. And let me tell you my mindset. In 2016 and 17, I started asking myself question that if I'm so good with marketing someone else, if I'm so good with building someone else's brand, why cannot I build my own brand? I mean, like, by my own brand does not mean a personal brand, but why cannot I have my own other businesses that I can actually market? So that's where I started building other IPs, and now few of them are good in their niche. They're making good revenue, and we have closed down few of them. Obviously, not every idea works. So all I'm trying to say is, as a marketer, there has been a constant questioning that I've did to myself was, if I'm so good with marketing, why am I not building my own product? And I believe this is not a unique mindset, and this is something every entrepreneurial marketer goes through.
Yeah.
How has this mindset? So I'm curious, how have you been able to move along with this mindset, and what are the things that you have built along the way?
Yeah, great question. By the way, what you're talking about is what we call private equity. So private equity, you would basically buy out a company or you build a company and like basically grow the sales of it through marketing,
Mhm.
and that becomes your own company.
Mhm.
This is done at scale by a lot of founders. It's not something which is like,
So you put a capital, and you also you put your skill set as a marketer.
yeah. So for example, do you know a company called GoDaddy? GoDaddy.com?
Yes.
It was bought by a private equity firm, and
Mm.
they've grown their sales dramatically
Mm.
because they bring in more people, bring in better teams, for example, and just grow the company massively,
Mm.
right? And then they sell it off eventually.
Mm.
It's exactly the same flow.
Mm.
Great marketeers, great founders, buy out companies, scale them up, and sell them again.
Mm.
So that's private equity, and a lot of people now who have sold 1 or 2 companies will just do private equity as part of their business, right? Okay, so have I done it? Yes, I'm still doing it. And in the past, I built, for example, a company called Spicy Hen,
Mhm.
hen party company, which is, for people who don't know hen parties, is basically a bachelorette party. In the UK, it's tradition that the bride, her best mate, bridesmaid, will go out and throw a party for her,
Mm.
call her family, female family friends, and other friends. And in the past, that was not something which you like just pick up from the website. You would have to find the dancer. With dancing was a big part. 60-70% of hen party people will do a dance lesson, which they can then do it again on the wedding. Now, in the past, you would go book a studio, find a dancer, then fly to a different city in the UK or fly abroad and find. That was really hard. So I just made a package out of it. And I know SEO really well, so I started to rank really well for it. Then I made it into the biggest dance-based hen party company in the country, sold it off, right? So I keep doing this. Now with the AI first mindset, it's very similar. I mean, we've grown so quickly. I mean, I'm surprised. I started doing this thing properly May onwards.
Mm.
I don't. There were 50 plus workshops. I got team members doing this as well. I feel like my passion is to educate people. I'm a marketeer, yes, but I still love to add value. And my way of adding value is to create something which is helping people out. That's what I do. Right?
Mm.
And the money is a byproduct of all of this stuff, right? So I'm doing it only for the money. If it was only for the money, probably won't be doing anything right now. I'll probably be sitting, just investing money into crypto or into shares, and then that's it, right? But that would be very boring for me.
Mm.
I'll get so bored.
Mm.
I won't be able to do it for very long.
So if we are so good, or if you are so good with building your own brands, why still do the agency thing? Because you could leverage the same time resources for building something else, something you truly believe in, and scale it and make more money, make more impact.
Yeah. So as we talk right now, I'm also putting feelers out there to buy companies out as well
Mm.
in the UK. People who are looking to exit the company. In fact, if somebody's looking to exit their B2B company, they want someone to buy it out. I happily buy it out,
Mm.
and I can help you. Get you a nice pension from this, because I can help the company growing further, and you can then retire on the monthly revenue we generate, for example. So if you're a company looking to exit,
so you give 100% exit.
So what we do typically is we'll give you some cash upfront, and then we'll give you like a monthly sort of profit share.
And will there be a lock-in period for a founder to stay in a business for the next couple of years?
No, I would say a month or two. If it's most businesses, if it's a very complicated business, now I'd like to stay in a bit longer. I also give them some shares in the company as well, so they don't have to work anymore. They can just retire, but we will bring in the right teams to help them out.
A lot of B2B business are built upon the relationship, right?
Yeah.
So if the founder is gone, how do you maintain that? I mean, like, the existing client base would definitely want the founders because that's whom they did the deal with.
It depends. Most businesses which we are like to buy out are not based on the founder itself. They have a product or service they're selling.
Okay.
And we buying that out, that goodwill. So we might retain the entire team, and we will work with them. And we don't want to create a disruption in the company. We just want to help the company grow further. And we have multiple things going for us. We are a remote first business. Number two, 70% of our staff are women. For example, big part is women empowerment. So we'll bring in more women in the company as well. And that's all we do. We kind of have our own unique take. We have our own DNA. And we've seen that works really well.
But then again, my question, why still do the agency thing if you can leverage the same time, resource into building your own IP or buying out this profitable business and making more profit?
Yeah. Like yourself, I learn a lot from it. My teams learn a lot of what's going on in the market right now. So we learn a lot. Agency world is also a very good opportunity to learn what's happening in this space. I mean, we talked about yesterday as well that we understand a bit better the ecosystem because we're in agency world, right? So I'll give agency anyway. I just want to learn from what's going on in the market. I mean, I can't disclose names. We work with some of the top tech companies in the world. And that's amazing, right? That's amazing because you're learning what they're doing in a very deep manner. And yes, you have NDAs you can't share, but I'm learning from it. I think that's awesome.
100%, I agree. And I think one of the reasons why I see agency business is not going away because you can't get all these creative ideas from your in-house team because your in-house team is only working on your product, whereas the agency is working on 10 different products, 10 different niche, 10 different industry, and you can't match the interdisciplinary reflection the agency people might have, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, if we look at 20 years back, and I'll tell you, like finding the most innovative bank or cap company, you probably get like the biggest cap provider or bank. Today, these are all app-based companies. 20 years back, you didn't have app-based companies, right? So that's awesome. I learned so much from this experience, and I will not change it for anything else. So I'll keep agency anyway. People have actually approached me to sell a company, the agency, several times. I get hounded by people constantly. Emails, phone calls. People are sending gifts, for example. I once got a coconut sent to my mailbox in London, and they're like, "Hey, you're a hard coconut to crack." You know, that was the joke. They kind of gonna just shared the whole thing up because I'm just a genuine thing. I'm not selling this company. I'm not selling the companies I have because they are. I want to keep building them up. Build 10 companies, for example, and then maybe go public, or I don't know what I want to do with it, but like that's the plan.
Now let's talk about AI first mindset.
Sure.
I think I was reading somewhere, and the amount of money IBM made by making company AI able is much more higher than the profit these other LLM is making. I think most of these LLMs are not even profitable. So I see a very big market as of now of the industry where a company is helping other companies to leverage AI more so they can automate it. So there is a big opportunity in training, workshop, research, integration, or let's say making companies AI able.
Sure.
And I think you're also playing on the same gap. I assume the training part. So how does it work? What is the value you bring into the people into the table with this workshop? Are these workshops for individual people or are these workshops for B2B companies?
Great question. So the AI first mindset, the concept really is that for any company to survive post 3 to 5 years from now is that they should have the AI first mindset. That means that before you embark on any problem, use AI first. It doesn't work, then use people and technology. That's the concept. Now, We want to help companies put AI into every part of their workflow, every part. How do you do that? The way we do that is to educate people first. Because if you don't know what AI is, how are you going to implement that in a company? So we educate them first. We do workshops that could be in person, could be online. We will train people in different niches. We do B2B, we do B2C, we do both. And we help them inculcate that. In that workshop, we'll ask them, what do you feel is the AI first future of your company? And we'll get from them, the team members, what is useful. And then we'll help implement those automations for them in their accounts, in their marketing, in their sales, in the strategy, for example, at scale. This could be both manual as well as automated processes in a company as well. I believe this is a very important requirement because my personal mission is to educate 1 million people on how to use AI. So it'll be my teams and I. Currently, I'm in the tens of thousands of people I've already trained. And I get emails and WhatsApp which make me cry because they have generated $1 million revenue plus in their companies. And I'm like, wow, using AI. I'm like, wow, that's amazing, right? So the ROI for me into the karma is incredible, but also I'm seeing the company grow much faster. So just to answer your question, highlight, overview, we do AI workshop education. We do training in that same space. We create automations in AI and workflows for them, and then we help maintain that. So if they need any further changes or updates, we'll do that for them as well.
So do you also go, so how I have seen this industry is you do the workshop act as a lead generation, and you do, if the need be, if, for example, there is a very unique problem, you go into more research. So there are AI researchers who figure the problem or solution out. Or if the problem is not very unique, you go into more software development side, integrating the existing systems that are already there. So I see three business over here. So is your workshop is also acting as a lead generation for either into research or into doing the software development, core software development?
Sort of, but I think each one has their own unique challenges. Some of them will say, I don't want to do a workshop. I just want to, this is my issue, fix it for me, right? Others might say, well, I need a workshop as well. So what I'm doing is adding value. How I do it is based on the company and how they need their help, for example. And one might say it's a lead generation, but I might say this is like the proven process of how it can help in a company. They decide how it works for them. For me, I can tell you that it works really well to do it in this way. If you skip a step because you want to cut corners, it doesn't help the company eventually. And for a few $1,000, it's worth doing it.
So for now, the most revenue you make is through the workshop?
At the moment, it's workshop and automation both. Reading both of them. Yeah, it's gangbusters, man. I'm literally flying around. Like the problem with that is that I miss my family a fair bit. I'm currently on a 2 months travel. Luckily, my wife and mother can come and join me in Nepal. Usually, I have to go days, and also I mentioned yesterday I've got a bit of a back issue as well. But for anything good to happen, you have to make sacrifices, right?
Do you see the market of teaching AI, making people AI able, or giving the AI first mindset is going to shrink away? Because I see agents, like literally AI agents, that is, because how I see right now is there is a big gap between the researchers, the people who are actually working in AI, and the normal people. There is a big gap. So I think there is a big industry for workshop and these training packages. But then I feel this is also shrinking because now AI is helping people to understand AI better through chat GPTs, through chat modules, through agents. So you see this shrinking, or you have your own take on why this is only going to grow?
Let me answer this question through not talking about AI for a second. So for a very long time, I had a physical trainer who will come and train me. The science of getting fitter in the gym has been around for decades, but we still prefer a human person to come help us educate us how to use it properly. The most asked question at the end of the workshop is, this is really awesome, Raj. We can learn more. Trust me when I say this to you, I can't find one up-to-date AI workshop online. Why is that? well, there are awesome trainers out there, but the AI world works so quickly that to find good AI workshops regularly at a high consistent pace aligned with current innovation is almost impossible. The worst ones are university ones, right? They are stuck in time from 3 years back, which is just garbage, right? And all the other ones you find on, say, Udemy, for example, they're great. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're great. But for example, till about 4 days back, the best image creating tool for me was Grok. Grok uses Flux as a background, generate images. Today, after 3 days of OpenAI launching their OpenAI ChatGPT 4.0 image model, number one by far, right? So that has happened. Now, someone asked me today, which is the best AI image generation tool? I'll give the answer, which is aligned with today's reality. But 4 days back, the reality was different. So what I tell people is, every 6 months, at least you do one refresher course, ideally every 3 months. So wherever I've done these workshops, I go back and do it again because I'm helping them to add value. And that's what the reality is. So I don't think this is true for AI. It might be true for, I don't know, an archaic sector, but not in AI.
You make me think that maybe now reading books to understand technology would be stupid as well, because it's printed and it was printed ages back, and then maybe podcast is a better way, right? Because at least you find people talking about information up to date. For example, just like you did now, maybe live walks up with people like you, trainers like you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I think mindset stuff, which has been true for decades of years, from thousands of years, works great. But these technology-based books and writing, I agree with you, totally rubbish.
So what would you suggest? I mean, like, for now, I think maybe we cannot imagine an industry that will not have its impact through AI. I mean, like, AI would be like internet, right? Whatever you do, you got to use AI. So what would you suggest to an expert who has spent 10 years of their life in one domain and now they are willing to adopt AI? How should they think now? What should be their mindset in coming years so they can leverage or build upon the base they have built for last 10 years in one domain?
Well, first of all, if you don't use AI in your workflow, you're screwed. Unfortunately, that's for sure. Number two is see which parts of your current work can be automated using AI and just use that at scale. Number three is there is still immense opportunities to be creative as a human being. In fact, being creative is a genuine human trait. And for AI to replace that, it will take a lot of time. So in my opinion, be creative in your own space and just keep going cutting edge. In fact, I think it's like 2080 rule, Pareto's law, that 20% of the companies have 80% of the business, or 20% of the boys get to 80% of the girls. I mean, it applies to everything, right? And so be the 20%. Spend time to be the expert, and AI will help you to achieve that. So use AI extensively in your workflow.
And I also see personally, when while reflecting your conversation yesterday and listening to other good podcasts, I feel there is a good opportunity for a lot of domain expert to actually use AI and then become these AI domain expert. For example, let's say somebody has spent 10 years of their career in marketing, become a AI marketeer, and then maybe also leverage that understanding to make other marketing company AI able. So there's a good opportunity that if you can be one of the first mover in your industry, you can actually leverage into education, workshop, trainings, or helping other company leverage AI and then monetize that process, right?
Absolutely. I
For
mean,
every domain expert.
well, that happened for digital, happened for email, it happened on social media. So yeah, absolutely, it happened for AI as well. I mean, that's without a shadow of doubt, that's going to happen. But be genuine about it. Genuinely understand about AI. Spend time on AI. Learn about AI. There's enough YouTube videos out there. There's enough tweets out there to learn about it. So learn, yeah, absolutely, deep dive into it.
So do you think even in AI there is going to be niche AI expert, for example, niche AI expert just on banking, niche AI expert just on health tech and medical, niche AI expert just on marketing, or there would be more general AI experts that can use their framework into any industry?
I feel like in any industry with any new innovation, there will always be niches. Niche is always the way to go forward. I talked about it yesterday as well. There is an element of a general purpose AI need, but when I go into companies, I'm niching down quite a lot. You have to. Why would the learnings from a jewelry maker help automation, like automotive manufacturer help? But there are some common elements there, but there are a lot of things which are genuinely niche down to their requirements.
So what is your niche? What is the niche you're niche downing into?
So, well, at this point in time, the place where I kind of bring in a lot of value is AI for, I've got 3-4 different areas we're currently focused on. AI for marketing and sales, AI for operations, and AI for innovation and business development. Common theme there is
Growth.
Saving money and making money. Like that's the thing. Not every business does that, right? That's what the business is all about. But I feel like this is the place I can give a lot of value. Industry focus right now, even with Goodman Anand, we have a lot of people, experts in different areas. For example, for without naming the organization, a military organization, to bring in a military writer who's ex-army, who writes content for that organization. He's a person who is from an organization in the past will do a much better job than someone who's like a random writer, right? So you have to bring in good writers. Similarly with AI as well, we bring in experts as well. People who understand that industry very well, we pair them up with AI experts.
So for example, if you're doing AI workshop for bankers, there would be integration of an expert in banking and a expert in AI, and then delivering the
100%. That's how we work.
Good one.
Okay.
Let's talk about a topic the whole world is talking about right now: personal branding.
Yeah.
You have been quite out there, like talking about personal brand as well. So how do you see this evolving, and why do you think every person should think of building their own personal brand? And with personal brand, I think when I talk to people about personal brand, they feel like personal brand is like, so I have built a quote. Building a personal brand is not like becoming a Shah Rukh Khan. You could be a niche Shah Rukh Khan. You don't have to be a person that the world knows about. You can be somebody quite well known in your particular industry, right? And that's the beauty of building a personal brand in one particular niche.
Yeah.
How do you think personal brand is literally changing the way we buy things, the way we sell things, the way bigger businesses are built, the way B2B businesses are built, the way these B2C public companies are built? And how do you think this is going to evolve in post-AI world?
Let me give you an answer a little bit deeper. Let's not go superficial and let's go a little deeper. I lost my dad about 1 year back.
Okay,
right?
sorry for that.
No, thank you. He lived a great life. Unfortunately, some lifestyle choices, But so when I lost him, and as a Sikh person, Hindu Sikhs, we have very similar sort of way we say goodbye to our loved ones. And I remember the last moment, when I had to do the last rituals. It occurred to me that as human beings, we come from the ground, you go back in the ground. In fact, the last thing you have to do is if you put in cow dung on human beings, who say that we came from planet Earth and we go back to planet Earth. And what we leave behind is genuine value and that ethos of care and love. And to kind of substantiate that, last moment for him was a lot of people who loved him, who was there, they flew from everywhere to kind of be in his last moment. And that's what we leave behind. And one might say that is, your karma. Some might say that's your value. But for me, that's also a brand as well. You create a brand of care about genuine love. And that love is shown by people even when you're not there. In fact, that's what I think all the time. I have a picture of me, an old version of me. I think to myself, before I leave, what legacy can I leave behind? And that legacy is really important to me. Always saying about me on my deathbed, right? That's really important to me. And that for me, in some ways, if I go to the digital world, is also your personal brand as well. What do you do for other people? These podcasts, for example, yeah, there might be a personal brand element here. Also, we talk about a lot of stuff openly, honestly, to share with people. So they can use that. Somebody somewhere, maybe, a Bob, who's like 20 years old, or maybe there's a, Jenny who is like, 11 years old, gets inspired and does something awesome. And we had 0.001% to their life, right? And that's what we're doing. And that builds karma points or brand for the person, right? So personal brands are very important, because this is what whether you go to a different company, and like it doesn't matter if it's B2B or B2C, and it's P2P, person to person, right? Your brand is something you go around with, a bit like your shadow. You can't go without your shadow. Shadow comes with you, right? Your brand as well. Whatever you've done so far, the value you've created for people, that will stay with you. So build a personal brand, not because that's something you should be doing. Do it because this is part of who you are. You go out there, you talk about people, you talk to people, that brand gets elevated or diminished based on how you add value. So, I mean, my value of my life is to, grow and add value to people's lives. And that's why 1 million people to educate using AI, because I care about people, and that education will help. And I can show you articles of people written about the value they've created from these AI workshops. Yeah, it makes me feel better. But also, what I've added to these people's lives. And these people have business owners, so they will go and talk to their team members. The team members also grown up as well using AI. And that's awesome, right? So yeah, build a brand, because this is what you leave behind.
And I think one of the common narrative that I find among people is they say me, I've not really achieved things to go out and start speaking, go out and start talking. Maybe someday I'll reach to a point, and then I'll start building my personal brand. And I think I figured a very strong call to action for them. I'd be like, you build your personal brand to expedite the process of reaching where you want to be. It's not something you do it after you have reached somewhere, but then you want to reach somewhere, and you definitely would want to expedite that process, right? So the process of building a personal brand is actually, it will act like a catalyst to reach somewhere faster. And it's up to you.
Absolutely. I mean, people do videos about opening like tin cans, right? And actually, they add a lot of value to my life. Like all these hacks in the kitchen, for example, they're awesome. Why would you say that you don't have anything to add to the world? There's a lot to add to the world. It's just like you to find that unique opportunity. I think there's a lot to add to the world. And everybody has some skill or the other. Like, you just don't feel like that's not enough. I mean, I'm not Einstein. I'm using whatever I can, right? And yeah, there'll be flaws in my presentation or what I'm adding, but I'm just doing it genuinely, just want to give back to people. That really helps.
Yeah, 100%. I think maybe instead of confusing it with building a personal brand, I think maybe next time I meet people, I'll start telling them, just add value to the world outside. And I think in doing so, the brand will be built.
Absolutely. That's literally it.
Add value.
Add value.
2 words.
Constantly add value. In fact, when did I ever grow massively is when I just did it because I love it, and it just led to more value addition. The day I was conservative and I was just like to myself, I just lost value.
And maybe how do you stand out on the process of adding value if you can bring that from your own personal experience, because that would put a very unique perspective, right? Because everybody can add value with AI if it's just about teaching somebody something. For example, how to operate a camera. I can go and do a quick AI search, and I can come up with the text, and I can put that into a status. But then if the process of adding value does not come from your unique experience, now it does not have a unique perspective to it. And like the example you give on how Google, on how AI and how these AI of these big discovery platforms used to push more of these content with unique perspective. And I think same goes with almost every platform. If you're writing on LinkedIn, and if you're just copying and pasting this AI content, LinkedIn is going to identify this is AI and does not have a really unique perspective to it, right? Obviously use AI, but whatever you're doing on the process of adding value, if you can actually bring something from your own personal experience, I think That's where you are standing out from these GPT's text, right?
100%. Like, Anup lives in Kathmandu. Yep, born in Bhairava, for example. That's a unique perspective. When you talk from your perspective in Nepal, people listen to you because you represent Nepal's growth, for example. You have a perspective on that you can talk to them from their perspective, understanding what the context is. I can't do that. I can't do that because I don't have the same privilege like you perhaps have, or your experiences like you have. So, Anup, the same thing we talk about, or to make tea, for example, you're different in how you explain it or how I explain it, and it's always great to have that in your way, right? Number two is, some people say, "Hey, yeah, I'm happy to add value, but I will not scream about it." Now think about this, right? Say you were by the seafront in Thailand when there was a tsunami happening. Would you tell everyone one by one, "Hey, tsunami is going to happen right now? Tsunami is going to happen right now?" Or would you scream and say, "Hey,
Run,
tsunami, run, move to high grounds"? That's what it's all about, right? And it's our job. At that point, it was our job, and to make people aware of tsunami, for example.
100%. And I think the problem is people are not embracing the experience they have. I mean, like, they are not very proud of the experience, the background they come up with. And until unless you don't really embrace that, I think it is difficult for people to leverage that, isn't it?
It is, and I don't blame them for it. Many a times, I mean, I was a timid, introverted person. I know it doesn't come across, but I was very introverted, and I've worked really hard to showcase I'm extroverted, but inside me I'm still very introverted. To be honest, my wife doesn't agree with that, but I know I inside me I'm introverted, right? And it's because my upbringing was such that I was told that all you can do in your life is maximum be like a programmer sitting behind doing your coding quietly. That's what you're worth, right? And people feel like that's what they're worth. And then you realize that, well, the world is my oyster. Let's go and explore it. And I was lucky to have that opportunity to do that. But otherwise I would be exactly the same. Sit behind, wonder, what this whole thing is happening. I can't talk about it because I'm the introverted person sitting behind. Whereas when you realize that actually everybody has a voice, and our job is to spread value and evolve the human race, that's when things start to change.
Reflecting the conversation we had yesterday, you have a quite a unique interdisciplinary experience of being born in Kuwait, being raised in UK, coming from an Indian origin family, working in Thailand, having a Nepali wife. That's quite a lot of unique experience, I mean, like, that makes you so much interdisciplinary, not just in terms of what you have seen, but also in terms of the culture that you can actually bind together and build something more unique.
Firstly, I was lucky with all this stuff. Number two was, I'm very, very curious. And that's an issue and an opportunity. I mean, born to an Indian family, typically would say you to get married to an Indian person, but I was always curious. I always wanted to like learn, and I met my lovely wife many years back, and that became that translated into getting married and having a child. But I just get bored really quickly. And not my lovely wife. Not so you're fine, don't worry. But like, if I was doing the same thing for 1 year, 2 years, I just can't do it. I'm constantly trying to find the next thing, right? So I speak different languages, for example. I worked in Spain, for example, for many years. I understand Nepali because कुरा काट्न मिल्दैन, like
सबैको राम्रो भन्नुपर्छ
एकदम. Because I was just curious what they're talking about. My mother-in-law was very keen that I talk to her in Nepali constantly. So I don't speak Nepali.
तर हजुर नेपाली त मजाले बुझ्नुहुन्छ है?
एकदम बुझ्छु.
ठग्न मिल्दैन.
I struggled a little bit with some of the outskirts Nepali, for example. But otherwise I can understand Nepali fluently. And in fact, many a times I would sort of like hear what people are saying, you know,
and act like you don't understand.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I just, you know, I understand what they're saying, and it's kind of fun because that's the beauty of it, right? Same with Spanish as well. I think 67% at one point I guess I could understand Spanish, could speak a lot of Spanish as well. It was really fun because like, you know, it's a new language you speak.
And you can really connect with the other person on their own native language, right?
Absolutely. And you know, like just to give you an example, in boardrooms in Spain, it's like a fiery experience, right? You're just like on fire. You know, Spanish, Latin vibe, it's impressive. It won't be the same, for example, in a Thai boardroom. In a Thai boardroom, it's very respectful. You know, you keep folding your hand constantly. In Spanish, you know, you put your chest out and you just say something out, you know, and that's a Spanish way of doing things. I love that. You know, I love the Thai way as well, I love the Nepali way as well. And I'm just curious, right?
Where do you think we lie? We are more towards Thailand or more into Spanish way approach?
I will say it's more Thai way when there's no alcohol in the system.
On spot.
But after a few Gorkhas and a few kukri rums, I think
it's Spanish.
It's a bit more Spanish.
Yeah, nice one.
No, it's true. I mean, that's why one thing I like about Nepali culture is, you know, it's a very, very genuine culture. Like, it's rare to see that kind of vibe of like just being relaxed, you know. And some might say that doesn't help the economy, but I feel like if you just look around, like Patan Darbar Square, for example, just sitting down there, like they just no worries of life, right?
Do you find people in Nepal are working slower than people in UK?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, like this kind of like problem China, you know, I love it. I love that. You know,
matlab.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Like, it's just like, you know, just want to have a good time. You know, I just want to genuinely just be around people, you know, have a meal, have a bit of ruxy, and just take it easy. And that is missing around the world. In my travels so far, like I see everybody's just like constantly in a rat race, constantly.
The world should learn something from Nepali culture.
100%. And in fact,
go a bit slow.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people who come back to Nepal constantly, they come for the Himalayas. Yes, they come for the culture, but they also come for people. The people in Nepal are genuinely the most amazing people ever, because it's an element of no rush. It's an element of like just enjoy the moment.
But you know, I mean, like maybe it applies to both the economy, country, and people as well. At times, your expertise also becomes your weakness. What has helped you reach somewhere is also becomes a bottleneck for you to not reach the next level, right? I mean, yeah.
I mean, you're right. Like every feature or characteristic is a pro and a con, right? Yeah, there's a guy called Naval. I'm sure you know Naval. He says that the ideal state to be is to be present, right? And I find a lot of Nepalese are present. They at the moment they are present, and they're enjoying that particular time. A lot of people in the world are not. I'm not present. I mean, I feel like I'm either thinking about the future or sort of thinking about what happened in the past. And like, I could have done a bit better job there. And I wish I could be more present. And that's something to learn from Nepal, because everybody's like I can tell you this experience I had first time I got here. It was one of the squares, which the bar square was. I'm not sure. Someone's sitting over there, just like observing us, right? And not because they wanted to kind of like get something from us or like sell something to us. They're just looking, just genuinely just curious what's going on, right? And smiling and trying to engage with us. I love that. I wish I could be that. I wish I could be that person in the Darbar Square, Patan Darbar Square, wherever that might be. I could be that person sitting there, just observing the world and looking at it and genuinely happy doing that. Basking in the sun, for example, and just like being part of the current moment, which I don't think I am. And I wish I could be, and I hope that one day I will be that person.
I think, so I was listening to a podcast of Naval today morning, and he mentioned it is much faster to go to a path of more awareness through materialistic approach than giving up everything and going through the struggle. So maybe, if you are economically well, if you're financially stable, it's all good to go and bask the sun, spend the whole day in the White Square, be happy about it. But if you're poor, work hard. Make sure you go seamless with uh, adding a value and bringing something out of it for yourself, for your family, and then maybe spend some good time under the sun. What do you think?
I can't deny it. I mean, I think both are in that sort of same rat race, aren't we? We are constantly trying to get the next best thing, trying to grow the next possible way. And in Steve Jobs' world, stay hungry, stay foolish. You constantly want to get the next thing, right? Reality is both of us can retire today if you wanted to. We don't want to do that, right? Because we have this next thing you want to achieve, and maybe it's only for us. Maybe we have this kind of fire in our belly because we want to achieve the next thing for us. It will help the whole world as well. But there is this thing to be said about going fast and going slow at the same time. And I'm still jealous of that person who's sitting in the bar square, right? Because I want to be like him. But I also can't not do what I do right now. I can't, if I wasn't traveling constantly, adding value to people's lives, I will regret that. I will not be happy with myself at the end of my life. So I'm just like constantly thinking of these things. And I think about, I mean, using AI, I made a screensaver, like a background for my desktop, for example. And it has my core values or my core last thing that I leave. And one thing is legacy. Legacy is a very important thing to me. Legacy was my daughter, for example, legacy for the entire world, for example. If I sit over in the bar square in the sun, enjoying people moving around, I will not achieve my legacy. And so I'm constantly...
Maybe it's the clarity of what you really want. That's what's missing in the world. The clarity of what you really want. What is something you're after? And maybe going after that is the good karma, is the good, isn't it?
Probably, but I'm sure you heard this kind of like story about this fisherman, who was just like sitting down on the
then
boat.
Asking questions, what did you do after this? What did you do after that? Yeah.
Exactly. And they're like, I'm currently, I'm relaxed right now. Why should I go do this, right? Again.
So see, the power of stories, you can actually make it inclined to any direction, I mean, like somebody can write a story that is more inclined to the businessman who is giving advice one after another, right?
Absolutely. But I think it's experiences, Anup. It's what we have gone through before which defines us today.
True, exactly.
Right?
And we're all the combination of our trauma.
That's it. Yeah. That for me, for example, it is that belief that I can't do it. I'm like, no, I can't do it. That person you have got behind, this guy's kind of struggling to get up, for example, people helping out. I want to be the person who's actually helping the person come up, because I was the guy on the cliff. He was trying to get up, and I was struggling with that.
You're this guy.
No, I'm this person over here. I'm working on a path. I'm not beginning right now. I'm somewhere on the journey. I feel like I'm getting there, because and I don't know where the end point is. I don't think I have an end point at all. I just sort of keep going and going till time I can not anymore.
Do you want to find a place where you can put your butt and then relax? Like, this is the guy maybe in the Y Square.
Yeah, he's found his nirvana for sure. I don't think I thought one day I'll be that person. I'll retire. I can't.
And to your question of going fast and going slow, I read it somewhere. Don't go fast. Go smooth, because smooth is the new fast.
I guess do things gracefully. Yeah, be smooth. Yeah, I agree. If I put that into my context right now, like fasting and going fast and breaking things is not always ideal. People do that, and they often say ask for forgiveness. But for me, I think whenever we do things, we leave a brand, we leave an impression, we create a memory for people. And the memory is negative. It's really hard to reverse that.
Exactly. True.
So even if I do something, I'll do it with everything I have in me. Even if I'm tired, back is aching, for example, I'll still do it, everything I have in me, because that's so important. And
maybe that is what the personal brand is in true sense, because you don't fake it, you can't fake it. And maybe it's a lifestyle, how you live your life, isn't it?
I think my business is a lifestyle. Like, my lifestyle is my business, right? Like, my daughter knows that this is my life, and she'll ask me about these things. She's only 4 years old. At one point, she thought I worked for EO, which is a voluntary role. But I was spending so much time with EO. But I was like, I don't care. I'm giving back to the community, which for entrepreneurs, right? So I didn't care. And I have a mission in life, right? So I'm driven. I'm just driven. But it's only because I was told I couldn't do it. And I'm like, no, I can. No, I can. I definitely can.
Amazing. मजा आयो.
मजा आयो?
हजुरलाई मजा आयो?
एकदम राम्रो छ.
Thank you so much, Raj. Thank you so much for making time on a you had such a I'm like yesterday actually you give me 3 time and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take 2 of it. One, I'm gonna meet you. Second, let's record on podcast on that particular time. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you. It's a pleasure knowing you. And I believe this is the beginning of our relationship. We'll figure out something to work together upon.
100%. I'm sure. And thank you for the opportunity, Anup, and for the platform. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everybody who's watching this. I think tons of takeaways. Watch it with a diary with yourself. Tons of values. I have my own takeaways from this podcast. Maybe you have to share this to somebody who you think might need at this point of time, because I think it's the content definitely inspire people to take the next move, right? So, and by the way, if people who are watching this podcast, if they want to reach out to you, what would be a most ideal way to reach out?
Yeah. So you can add me on LinkedIn, for example, but I've just started my Instagram, which I just started like literally 4 days back. So yeah, look for Raj Goodman AI.
Okay. So we'll link his Instagram and LinkedIn below. Every amazing people I met, it's because I've made an effort to reach out with a very genuine approach. So don't just say hi, go with the context, because people are busy and they would want to know more about the context and why you are reaching out to them. For everybody watching this, it's 2 of us talking in front of a camera, but there are amazing people behind the camera making sure this is happening right. I'd also like to thank our production company, WeFindUs, for making this happen. WeFindUs is one of the largest B2B content production company in the country. If you want to come up, if you want to activate your sales, if you want to activate your digital footprint, if you want to activate any of these social channels and build the brand and get more sales, we are definitely one of the best company to reach out to. We produce tons of videos, tons of written content. To reach out, there is a link below. And I'll also link Goodman Lantern link. So yeah, build content, do content, because I think internet is either code or content. So I think you better start producing more content. We'll be back again with another amazing episode, another amazing guest. Till then, guys, take care. Bye bye. Lovely.
Thanks,
Maza
Maza.